Good morning. Almost Thanksgiving time is what it is. And wow, who do I go to for whatever I want to know about Thanksgiving? I do have a very good friend, pal, old time friend. I think his name is Bill St. John. Love him. I see him all the time. Bill writes an amazing column, and he's going to tell us what to do for Thanksgiving. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Gabby, nice to see you this morning. Yeah. Well, you
Tell
just
me.
said it. You just said it's Thanksgiving time coming up. It is Thanksgiving time. In terms of preparation for your meal, it's now or never because this is 3 weeks out, but it's still time to start getting. There's so much to do if you're planning to host, especially the Thanksgiving Day dinner. Um, Lots of preparation for things that you can do now in the next couple of weeks so that you don't get everything crammed up at the end. That's one of my key things is to not do everything at the last minute, of course. So now is the time for Thanksgiving, not just a couple of weeks from now.
I would say so. I mean, fortunately, I do think people sort of make other people help participate.
That
But
helps a lot. Yeah.
okay, but what do I do? Here I am. I don't cook, but that's okay. Here I am. What do I do?
A couple of things I'd like to mention. Um, there are things that I noticed from it's mostly anecdotal, but things that I think that are important to keep in mind, and that is if you buy a turkey frozen, which most people do, don't defrost it at the last minute. You the best time I mean, people start defrosting their turkey on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and that's too late.
How do
So
you pull
it's
the insides out?
well, yeah, but that's the point that but they still defrost it on the day before Thanksgiving, and that
Oh,
they do it one of two ways. They defrost it out on the counter, which is dangerous, or they defrost it in warm water, which is even more dangerous.
oh,
It's important to defrost the turkey in the refrigerator 6 to 7 days before Thanksgiving Day. So you should buy your turkey at least starting next week, and keep it frozen until 6 or 7 days before Thanksgiving and defrost it in the refrigerator. If you
great.
need to defrost your refrigerator closer to the day, it's best to defrost it 2 or 3 days ahead in cold water for a whole day, not in warm water and not on the counter. So keep that in mind in terms of
Oh, I put
preparation.
the cool water in the refrigerator.
You can put the cool water in your if you have a double sink or in a
Okay,
basin of some kind in the sink, but keep refreshing it with cold water. It
okay.
takes about a whole day to defrost a big turkey
Yeah,
in cold water in the sink. But don't use hot water and warm water, and don't defrost it in any kind of warm environment. That doesn't defrost it well enough, and it starts bacterial growth, and that's a pretty dangerous thing to do.
great.
So just simply that. And then, of course, if you're interested in buying a heritage turkey or a turkey that has been pre-brined or a turkey that is a special kind, it's important to start to do that now and not to do that on the date, say the week before Thanksgiving. It's important to plan those things now. I know Marzick's grocery store, for example, here in Denver is starting to sell its turkeys. I'm sure Tony's and other specialty markets are selling their special turkeys now rather than at the last minute. You don't have to take possession of it immediately and worry about keeping it because it's going to be fresh. They'll let them do it for you in their big coolers and so forth, but you can take possession of it pretty soon. But it's important to order it now. That's the
Very
one thing I think that's really key. And the second thing is to start doing things that you can do ahead of time, like make broth or stock. Even some dishes that are layered, casseroles and so forth, can be done ahead of time. Not now, but maybe next week and the week after, before Thanksgiving, with some days. If you're into making pies and not buying pies, say from our friend John Hinman, it's
good.
important to make pie crusts ahead of time and freeze those. Excuse me, you can roll out pie crusts and freeze them in disc form so you have those already ready because you want to make a pie towards the last minute anyway. Um, a couple of days before. But there's things that you can do. So I'd like to point out my website, which has a very helpful calendar
Please,
starting now for the whole month of November. It's billstjohn.com. BILLSTJOHN.com is my website. And the homepage has a link for a calendar, which can be printed down and downloaded. Or there's a PDF on the page that it goes to where you can download a PDF of a calendar starting now of things to do each week before Thanksgiving and then the last few days before Thanksgiving each day. And it gives you an idea that you can check this thing off as you go along.
I looked at it. It was on your webpage yesterday.
Right.
And I mean, if you're cooking, it's really the thing to do. So
It's,
you're
it's,
crazy.
yeah, you might, if you're, especially if you're making the whole meal yourself, which some people are going to do, especially newcomers. I know that when I was in college, for example, and making my first Thanksgiving meals all by myself, it's something that would have been very helpful for me to have is to check off things for starting this week all the way through Thanksgiving Day.
Okay. Uh, can I ask a question? And I'm sure I have a relative who's, I have never been to their house where the turkey is cooked, no matter
Mm,
what.
wow.
Whether they opened it up like you do, spatula, it's always raw.
Wow.
What does one do when that happens? Do you know?
Well, if you are if you're faced with a raw turkey that's dangerous actually to eat, you just simply ask for it to be microwaved at the last minute. If I mean, or don't eat it.
Yeah.
If you're the cook and you are and you end up with raw turkey, then and everybody's coming in or everybody's at the door, um, the only safe thing to do is to microwave and cook it quickly that way, or cook it at very high heat while people are eating their appetizers and so forth, chopped up. If you carve it and it's raw, just put it in a tray of some kind and put it in the oven at 400 degrees for a few minutes because that'll cook it quickly. But
That's a
I
a
assume
good
it's been
habit
partially
now.
cooked, you know. So
Yeah. Oh, they cooked it for whatever, and it was still so. But you should cut it up. That's a great idea.
right, cut it up and then cook the raw pieces that way. Um, and you can avoid using the microwave that way if you have time. Usually people have half an hour, 45 minutes before the turkey if they're going to be eating, drinking cocktails and having appetizers and stuff. So you can, of
It
course, just the way to avoid that is to plan ahead.
well, yeah.
have have the turkey defrosted. Plan on so many pound, how many pounds it is. It's going to take 3 or 4 hours to cook a big sized turkey to the recommended temperature of 175 degrees at the thigh. Keep in mind that a turkey continues to roast outside the oven while you let it set for a half an hour. You shouldn't carve a turkey right out of the oven. You should let it set for half an hour, 45 minutes. And that's the temperature will raise 5 to 10 degrees while it sits loosely tinted with foil and rests. And in fact, it needs to rest so that the juices reincorporate themselves into the meat before you carve it. But if you plan ahead, again, if it's all about planning and knowing what you're dealing with in terms of getting things done.
Yeah. But potatoes and things like that you can make ahead.
Well, you can peel potatoes. I could literally peel potatoes next week. This would be like around the 10th of the month and put them in cold water and keep them for another couple of weeks if I wanted to do that. The food service people would do that. But it's not
Well,
you can. I mean, because you're just keeping them in water. They're in a sort of a neutral environment. But it's you can you don't need to do that. But there are things you can start planning to do, like making broths, freezing pie crusts, getting some. You could dice onions and keep them in a Tupperware container for a couple weeks if you wanted to. I mean, there's lots of things you can do
that's
to
helpful.
prepare.
Right.
You don't have to do everything. My thing is simply don't do everything at the last minute. It isn't necessary.
Okay. And you point this out.
Yeah, I
And
give it. There's actually a checklist. I'm not the only one that has these checklists. I mean, you can get them on any number of websites. I'm sure any cooking magazine will have a checklist now for Thanksgiving Day preparation. But
I'll
I
use
have
Bill
one.
St. John's. Thank
Use billstjohn.com and then check it out. So
you. Okay. Well, and in general, your column is really, really fun. I mean,
thank you. I appreciate that.
oh, wait, stuffing. Do you do it in or out of the turkey?
You can do both actually. In fact, make enough for the for both in and out. I prefer out just for safety's sake because the interior of the turkey is that which cooks the last, and sometimes the, the stuffing doesn't get hot enough if you don't plan ahead. But there's two parts of the stuffing there's two places in the turkey that you can do stuffing. That is at the back end where the big flap is. You can put a small amount of stuffing inside that cavity and put a casserole of turkey stuffing on the side. Putting the main amount of turkey in the big cavity can be iffy. And so I just avoid doing that. And that's where I put aromatics like a whole lemon, a head of garlic, or some onions and carrots, and some thyme sprigs, and so forth. So for cooking inside that big cavity. And I try to cook stuffing outside. And, the
Okay.
but one recipe that I have on my website is for Gene Amos, the famous old
Yeah.
writer for the Rocky Mountain News. His famous stuffing recipe, many times requested from me for Thanksgiving. It's on my website as well. Gene Amos, Amole. You can search for anything on the front page of my website. On the left hand side, there's a search button. So you can search for Amol and get that recipe.
Is it a bread stuffing?
It's a bread stuffing. I think he uses cornbread, if I recall correctly, and regular bread, but it's a stuffing. But the writing is the nice point about reading that. It's pretty
Well,
cool.
your writing is wonderful. And aside from Thanksgiving, I mean, your column is incredible, whether it's
Thank you.
adding wines or stories, and you always give a history and why and logically, you're just brilliant. It's
Well,
just,
thank you very much. Another note about bringing things that, doing things ahead. If let's say you're asked to bring a dish, a lot of people worry about bringing something that has to be heated in the oven, because the oven of the host is probably going to, or the hostess is probably going to be pretty busy with their stuff and maybe some other people's stuff. But there's lots of things that you can bring, side dishes, for example, that you can bring that can be served at room temperature that are delicious,
oh,
pre-cooked, like roasted vegetables, for example. The way I think about bringing stuff ahead is what would an Italian or a Greek bring, because they have so many side dishes that they serve room temperature.
okay.
Sometimes when you go into a restaurant, you see all these side dishes just lined up on a buffet, and there
Right.
are many things like roasted vegetables, for example. Roasted vegetables taste pretty good at room temperature, but you can cook all of them ahead of time and bring them in as a gift for the host if you're asked to bring something. Stuffed Vidalia onions, for example, you could stuff them, cook them at your home, and bring them over. Even if you bring them out of your oven, they can be slightly warm when they get there, and they don't need to be kept at a high temperature because they've already been cooked. You could make some roasted green beans with corn in an almondine, for example, and bring that over and serve that slightly warm right out of your oven. If you're not more than a half an hour or 45 minutes away, it would be delicious, slightly warmer at room temperature as well. So I think there's lots of things that can be brought over that you could bring that don't need to, someone else's oven. Um, there's many recipes. The New York Times has a wonderful cooking section with lots of great recipes, and you don't need to have a subscription to get some of those recipes. They're available online if you search for them.
Well, you've already made me very hungry. And it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
well, yeah, I'm sorry. It's 9 o'clock on Friday, right before the weekend. That's good. I don't know
Okay.
what our time is in terms of
I
things, but
think
I have.
we may be out already. I have no idea. So just whatever you have to say, say it.
Well, I wanted to tell the story about the turkeys that we eat on Thanksgiving Day. Actually, we in this hemisphere gave the turkey to the people east of us to Europe after Columbus was here, because the turkey came from our continent to theirs after 1492.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yes, it's very interesting because we had two flocks of turkeys at Columbus's time. There was a turkey flock in New England and also another flock in the Southwest in Honduras and in Mesoamerica. He brought some of those turkeys back to Spain, and they were very popular. Turkey sort of was really well accepted by the Europeans. The turkeys that we eat came from there via the British settlers to North America. We don't eat turkeys from the North American flock in New England, as we commonly might understand it. We eat turkeys that came to us from Britain, that originally got from Spain via Columbus. So it's a very interesting route how we got our turkey.
And okay, you have just given a perfect example of why when I see the name come up on Wednesday, I go straight to it just to read what story you've got of the day that I probably did not know.
Well, I love food history, and that's for me a very fascinating history that we got our turkeys from the British.
Oh, well, good for them. See, they made something we like.
That's right. That's right.
Tasty
And
food. Okay, well, tell everyone again how they could get to this column.
easily get to my column by going to my website, which is billstjohn.com, BILLSTJOHN.com. It's right there today on the homepage. You can get the Thanksgiving Day prep calendar there by clicking through. You can search for anything on my website on the left side of the homepage, and once in a while you'll see my picture there. So
It's at the bottom. Look at it. It's really fun. And he's a brilliant guy, great cook, and a very good friend.
thanks.
Everybody, please like and subscribe to the Gabb, GABB/Gabby Gourmet on YouTube and on Instagram and Facebook at Gabby Gourmet. You'll find this every place. And Bill is a very special person with a lot of talent.
Thanks,
Have a
Pam.
great
Thanks, Pat.
have a great weekend.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
guys. Bye, Gab.
Thank,
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
thank you. Bye.